Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatha Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidam Noma Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Medam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pracharine Rin Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namam Vishnupadaya Acharya Singha Rupine Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Pati Marta Charitraya Sahasitam Chapaline Jive Dukhe Sadartaya Srinamo Prema Daine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshubhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namah Madhurujjvala Pramadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairaghamurtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhi Padam Bhujayate Nama Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupai Rupanuga Varayate Gauravi Bhumistang Nidishta Sajjana Priya Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namah Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaudatrishe Namah He Krishna Karunar Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatang Suratopangor Mamo Mandamate Gati Matsarvasthapadambujo Radha Madan Mohana Divyat Bindaran Kalpadrumad Srimadat Nagara Singhasanastu Shri Shri Radha Shila Govinda Deva Prashtalidhi Sevyamana Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamshivata Tatastita Karfan Venukshana El Gopi Gopinatha Shri Estana Brindavai Tulasi Dibbavi Priya Vaikeshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatai namo namah. Panchatatmatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
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 Sri
Sri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Jaya
Jaya
Nityananda
Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya Dvaita
Chandra
Chandra
Jaya
Jaya
Pura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda
Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
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 Jaya Sri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Jaya
Jaya
Nityananda
Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya
Dvaita Chandra
Chandra
Jaya Gaura Bhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda
Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya
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 Sri
Sri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Jaya
Jaya
Nityananda
Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya
Jaya
Dvaita
Sri
Chandra Jaya
Chaitanya
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Let us offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Let us also offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, and all their eternal associates. Let us also offer our most humble respects to the scripture, Sri Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta. May they bless us so that we are able to take to heart and keep in memory all these wonderful pastimes of the Lord with His eternal associates and the transcendental instructions that He is giving to us. So we are reading from MadhyaLila, chapter 9, verse 305. Lord Chaitanya's travels to the holy places. Brahman Samaj Sabha Vaishnava Charit Vaishnav Sakala Pare Krishna Karanamrit.
The Brahman community there was composed of pure devotees who regularly studied a book entitled Krishna Karanamrit, which was composed by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Purport: this book was composed by Bilva Mangal Thakur in 112 verses. There are 2 or 3 other books bearing the same name, and there are also 2 commentaries on the Bilva Mangal's book. One commentary was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and the other by Chaitanya Das Goswami.
And this book by Srila Bilva Mangal Thakur was heard regularly every day by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was for 12 years in Gambhira, temple of house of Kashi Mishra, a small room, not exactly a room. And anyway, there he would relish Krishna Karnamrita, Brahma Sanghita, Prem Vivarta, the poems of Jayadev Goswami. So the Krishna Karunamrita was very much favored by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. কৃষ্ণ করুণামৃত শুনি প্রভুর আনন্দ হইল আগ্রহ করিয়া পুঁথি লেখাইয়া লইল
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to hear the book Krishna Karanamrit, and with great eagerness he had it copied and took it with him.
করুণামৃত সমবস্তু নাহি ত্রিভুবনে যাহা হইতে হয় কৃষ্ণের শুদ্ধ প্রেম গানে
There is no comparison to Krishna Karanamrit within the three worlds. By studying this book, one is elevated to the knowledge of pure devotional service to Krishna.
সৌন্দর্য মাধুর্য কৃষ্ণ লীলার অবধি সেই জানে যে করুণামৃত পড়ে নিরবধি
One who constantly reads Krishna Karanamrit can fully understand the beauty and melodious taste of the pastimes of Lord Krishna.
ব্রহ্ম সংহিতা করুণামৃত দুই পুঁথি পাইয়া মহারত্ন প্রায় পাই আইলা সঙ্গে লইয়া
The Brahma Sanghita and Krishna Karanamrit were two books that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered to be most valuable jewels. Therefore, he took them with him on his return trip.
তাপি স্নান করি আইলা মাহিষ্মতিপুরে নানা তীর্থ দেখি তাহা নর্মদার তীরে
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at the banks of the river Tapi. After bathing there, he went to Mahismatipura. While there, he saw many holy places on the banks of the river Narmada. Purport: the river Tapi is presently known as Tapti. The river's source is a mountain called Multai, and the river flows through the state of Saurashtra and into the western Arabian Sea. Mahismatipur is mentioned in Mahabharata in connection with Sahadev's victory. Sahadev, the youngest brother of the Pandavas, conquered that part of the country, as is stated in Mahabharata, Tato Ratnani Upadaya Purim Mahismitim Yayau Tatra Nilena Ragyasa Chakre Yuddham Narar Sabaha.
নরঋষভা
Nararishabha, yes. After acquiring jewels, Sahadev went to the city of Mahismati, where he fought with a king called Nil.
So Mahishmati and Tapi, they are very famous even today. And the banks of Narmada, of course, is also very famous. It's the only river which flows in a different direction. Now, all the rivers are flowing from west to east, most of them, from north to east. But Narmada flows from central India to the west, into the Arabian Sea. It is also one of the few male rivers. Most of the rivers in India are female-bodied river. But Narmada is a male-bodied river. ধনুষ তীর্থ দেখি করিলা নির্বন্ধ্যাতে স্নানে ঋষ্য মুখ গিরি আইলা দণ্ড কারণ্যে
The Lord next arrived at Dhanus Tirtha, where he took his bath in the river Nirvindhya. He then arrived at Risimukha mountain and then went to Dandakaranya. Purport: according to some opinions, Risimukh is a chain of mountains beginning at the village of Hampigram in the district of Bellary. The mountain chain begins along the bank of river Tungabhadra, which gradually reaches the state of Hyderabad. According to other opinions, this hill is situated in Madhya Pradesh and bears the present name of Rampa. Dandakaranya is a spacious tract of land which begins north of Khandes and extends up to the southern Ahmednagar through Nasik and Aurangabad. The Godavari River flows through this tract of land, and there is a great forest there where Lord Ramachandra lived.
Dandakaranya is mentioned also in Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana. This was written thousands and thousands of years ago. They're still there. So we can understand that this culture which exists now in India, Bharatvarsha, has an unbroken chain of tradition and the likes. And with time also, it has not been lost. So one can understand how long this culture has been in existence. সপ্ততাল বৃক্ষ দেখে কানন ভিতর অতি বৃদ্ধ অতি স্থূল অতি উচ্চতর.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited a place within the forest called Saptatal. All the trees there were very old, very bulky and very high. Purport. The name Saptatal is mentioned in Kiskindha Kand, chapter of the Ramayana, and is described in the 11th and 12th sections of this chapter.
সপ্ততাল দেখি প্রভু আলিঙ্গন কইল সশরীরে সপ্ততাল বৈকুণ্ঠে চলিল.
After seeing the 7 palm trees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them. As a result, they all returned to Vaikuntha Lok, the spiritual world.
শূন্যস্থল দেখি লোকের হইল চমৎকার লোকে কহে সন্ন্যাসী রাম অবতার.
After the 7 palm trees departed for the Vaikuntha, everyone was astonished to see them gone. The people then began to say, this sannyasi called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must be an incarnation of Lord Ramachandra.
সশরীরে তাল গেল শ্রী বৈকুণ্ঠ ধাম হয়েছে শক্তিকার হয় বিনা এক রাম.
Only Lord Ramachandra has the power to send 7 palm trees to the spiritual Vaikuntha planets.
প্রভু আসি কইল পম্পা সরোবরে স্নান পঞ্চবটী আসি তাহা করিল বিশ্রাম.
Eventually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at a lake known as Pampa, where he took his bath. He then went to a place called Panchavati, where he rested. Purport. According to some, the old name of the Tungabhadra river was Pamba. According to others, Vijayanagar, the capital of the state, was known as Pampa Tirtha. Yet, according to others, there is a lake near Anagundi in the direction of Hyderabad. The river Tungabhadra also flows through there. There are many different opinions about the lake called Pampa Sarovar.
These are all holy sites from the time of Ramayana. We read in the Ramayana that Ram met Hanumanji for the first time in Pampa Sarovar. Rishyamukha, and all these are very famous. sites from the time of Ramayana, in Treta Yuga. नासिके त्रयंबक देखी गेला ब्रह्मगिरी कुशावर्ते आइला जहाँ जन्मिला गोदावरी.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Nasik, where he saw the deity Trembak. He then went to Brahmagiri and then to Kusavarta, the source of the river Godavari. Purport: Kusavrat is located in the western Ghat at Sahyadri. It is near Nasik, a holy place, but according to some, it was situated in the Vindhya.
সপ্ত গোদাবরী আইলা করি তীর্থ বহুতর পুনরপি আইলা প্রভু বিদ্যানগর.
After visiting many other holy places, the Lord went to Sapta Godavari. At last, he returned to Vidyanagar. Purport: in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled from the source of the Godavari river and eventually visited the northern side of Hyderabad state. He finally arrived at the state of Kalinga.
রামানন্দ রায় শুনি প্রভুর আগমন আনন্দে আসিয়া কইল প্রভু সহ মিলন.
When Ramananda Rai heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, he was very pleased and he immediately went to see him.
দণ্ডবত হইয়া পড়ে চরণে ধরিয়া আলিঙ্গন কইল প্রভু তাহারে উঠাইয়া.
When Ramananda Rai fell flat, touching the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately raised him to his feet and embraced him.
দুইজনে প্রেমাবেশে করেন খন্দন প্রেমানন্দে শিথিল হইল দুহাকার মন.
In great ecstatic love, they both began to cry, and thus their minds were slackened.
কতক্ষণে দুইজনা সুস্থির হইয়া নানা ইষ্ট গোষ্ঠী করে একত্র বসিয়া.
After some time, they both regained their senses and sat together to discuss various subjects.
তীর্থযাত্রা কথা প্রভু সকল কহিলা করুণামৃত ব্রহ্ম সংহিতা দুই পুঁথি দিলা.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Ramananda Rai a vivid description of his travels to the holy places and told him how he had acquired the two books named Krishna Karanamrit and Brahma Sanghita. The Lord delivered the books to Ramananda Rai.
Who else has the English version? Haribol.
Haribol Gurudev, Hare Krishna.
প্রভু কহে তুমি যেই সিদ্ধান্ত কহিলে এই দুই পুঁথি সেই সব সাক্ষী দিলে.
The Lord said, whatever you have told me about devotional service is all supported by these two books.
রায়ের আনন্দ হইল পুস্তক পাইয়া প্রভু সহে আশ্বা দিল রাখিল লিখিয়া.
Ramananda Rai was very happy to receive these books. He tasted their contents along with Lord and made a copy of each.
গোসাই আইলা গ্রামে হইল কোলাহল প্রভুকে দেখিতে লোক আইল সকল.
News spread in the village of Vidyanagar about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, and everyone came to see him once again.
লোক দেখি রামানন্দ গেলা নিজ ঘরে মধ্যাহ্নে উঠিলা প্রভু ভিক্ষা করিবারে.
After seeing the people who gathered there, Sri Ramananda Rai returned to his own home. At noon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up to take his lunch.
রাত্রিকালে রায় পুনঃ কইল আগমন দুইজনে কৃষ্ণ কথায় কহিল জাগরণ।
Sri Ramananda Rai returned at night, and both he and the Lord discussed topics concerning Krishna. Thus they passed the night.
দুইজনে কৃষ্ণ কথা কহে রাত্রি দিনে, পরম আনন্দে গেল 5-7 দিনে।
Ramananda Rai and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu discussed Krishna day and night, and thus they passed from 5 to 7 days in great happiness.
রামানন্দ কহে প্রভু তোমার আজ্ঞা পাইয়া, রাজাকে লিখিলু আমি বিনয় করিয়া।
Ramananda Rai said, "My dear Lord, with your permission, I have already written a letter to the king with great humility."
রাজা মোরে আজ্ঞা দিল নীলাচলে যাইতে, চলিবার উদ্যোগ আমি লাগিয়াছি করিতে।
The king has already given me an order to return to Jagannath Puri, and I am making arrangement to do this.
প্রভু কহে এথা মোর এ নিমিত্তে আগমন, তোমা লইয়া নীলাচলে করিব গমন।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "It is for this purpose alone that I have returned. I want to take you with me to Jagannath Puri."
রায় কহে প্রভু আগে চলো নীলাচলে, মোর সঙ্গে হাতি ঘোড়া সৈন্য কোলাহলে।
Ramananda Rai said, "My dear Lord, it is better that you proceed to Jagannath Puri alone, because with me there will be many horses, elephants, and soldiers, all roaring tumultuously."
দিন দশে ইহা সবার করি সমাধান, তোমার পাছে পাছে আমি করিব প্রয়াণ।
I shall make arrangement within 10 days. Following you, I shall go to Nilachal without delay.
তবে মহাপ্রভু তাঁরে আসিতে আজ্ঞা দিয়া, নীলাচলে চলিলা প্রভু আনন্দিতে হইয়া।
Giving orders to Ramananda Rai to come to Nilachal, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed for Jagannath Puri with great pleasure.
যেই পথে পূর্বে প্রভু কহিলা আগমন, সেই পথে চলিলা দেখি সর্ব বৈষ্ণবগণ।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned by the same road he formerly took to Vidyanagar, and all the Vaishnavas along the way saw him again.
যাহা যায় লোক উঠে হরিধ্বনি করিয়া, দেখি আনন্দিত মন হইলা গৌর হরি।
Wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, the holy name of Sri Hari was vibrated. Seeing this, the Lord became very happy.
আলা আলা নাথে আসি কৃষ্ণ দাসে পাঠাইল, নিত্যানন্দ আদি নিজ গণে বোলাইল।
When the Lord reached Alananath, he sent his assistant Krishna Das ahead to call the Nityananda for Nityananda and other personal associates.
প্রভুর আগমন শুনি নিত্যানন্দ রায়, উঠিয়া চলিলা প্রেমে হেতা নাহি পায়।
As soon as Nityananda received news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, he immediately got up and started out to see him. Indeed, he was very impatient in his great ecstasy.
জগদানন্দ দামোদর পণ্ডিত মুকুন্দ, নাচিয়া চলিলা দেহে না ধরে আনন্দ।
Sri Nityananda Rai, Jagannath, Damodar Pandit, and Mukunda all became ecstatic in their happiness, and dancing along the way, they went to meet the Lord.
গোপীনাথ আচার্য চলিলা আনন্দিত হইয়া, প্রভুরে মিলিলা সবে পথে লাগ পাইয়া।
Gopinath Acharya also went in a very happy mood. They all went to meet the Lord and they finally contacted him on the way.
প্রভু প্রেমাবেশে সবাই কইল আলিঙ্গন, প্রেমাবেশে সবে করে আনন্দ ক্রন্দন।
The Lord was also filled with ecstatic love and he embraced them all. Out of their love, they began to cry with pleasure.
সার্বভৌম ভট্টাচার্য আনন্দে চলিলা, সমুদ্রের তীরে আসি প্রভু মিলিলা, প্রভুরে মিলিলা।
Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya also went to see the Lord with great pleasure, and he met him on the beach by the sea.
সার্বভৌম মহাপ্রভুর পরিলা চরণে, প্রভু তারে উঠাইয়া কইল আলিঙ্গনে।
Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord pulled him up and embraced him.
প্রেমাবেশে সার্বভৌমা করিলা রোদনে, সবার সঙ্গে আইলা প্রভু ঈশ্বর দর্শনে।
Sarvabhavama Bhattacharya cried in great ecstatic love. Then, accompanied by them all, the Lord went to the temple of Jagannath.
জগন্নাথ দর্শন প্রেমাবেশে কইল, কম্পস্যে পুলক আশ্রুতে শরীর ভাসিল।
Due to ecstatic love experienced upon visiting Lord Jagannath, inundations of trembling, perspiration, tears, and jubilation swept the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
বহু নিত্য গীত কইল প্রেমাবিষ্ট হইয়া, পান্ডাপাল আইল সবে মালা প্রসাদ লইয়া।
In ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and chanted. At that time, all the attendants and priests came to offer him a garland and the remnants of Lord Jagannath's food. Purport. Those who are priests engaged in Lord Jagannath's service are called Pandas or Panditas, and they are Brahmanas. The attendants who look after the temple's external affairs are called Palas. Both priests and attendants went together to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
মালা প্রসাদ পাইয়া প্রভু সুস্থির হইলা, জগন্নাথের সেবক সব আনন্দে মিশিলা।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became patient after receiving the garland and prasad of Lord Jagannath. All the servants of Lord Jagannath met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great pleasure.
কাশী মিশ্র আসি প্রভু প্রভুর পড়িলা চরণে, মান্য করি প্রভু তারে কইল আলিঙ্গনে।
Afterwards, Kashi Mishra came and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord respectfully embraced him.
প্রভু লইয়া সার্বভৌম নিজ ঘরে গেলা, মোর ঘরে ভিক্ষা বলি নিমন্ত্রণ কইলা।
Oh Gurudev, es tut mir leid, ich bin raus, Gurudev, aus dem.
Okay. Does anybody else have? Who else has the English version?
Gurudev, bei welcher Vers waren wir gerade? 300?
50. Anybody else has the English version?
Soll ich weiter?
Oh, hast du gefunden? Okay, weiter.
Yeah. Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya then took the Lord with him to his home, saying, "Today's luncheon will be at my home." In this way, he invited the Lord.
দিব্য মহাপ্রসাদ অনেক আনাইল, পিঠাপানা আদি জগন্নাথ যে খাইল।
Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya brought various types of food remnants that had been left by Lord Jagannath, he brought all kinds of cakes and condensed milk preparations.
মধ্যাহ্ন করিলা প্রভু নিজগণ লইয়া সার্বভৌম ঘরে ভিক্ষা করিল আসিয়া
Accompanied by all his associates, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house and took his noon lunch there.
ভিক্ষা করাইয়া তারে করাইল শয়ন আপনে সার্বভৌম করে পাদ সম্বাহন
After offering food to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya made him lie down to rest and personally began to massage the legs of the Lord.
প্রভু তারে পাঠাইল ভোজন করিতে সেই রাত্রি তার ঘরে রহিলা তার প্রীতে
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sent Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take his lunch, and the Lord remained that night in his home just to please him.
সার্বভৌম সঙ্গে আর লইয়া নিজগণ তীর্থযাত্রা কথা কইল জাগরণ
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates remained with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. They stayed awake the entire night hearing the narrations of Lord's pilgrimage.
প্রভু কহে এই এত তীর্থ কইলু পর্যটন তোমার সম বৈষ্ণব না দেখুলু একজন
The Lord told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, I have traveled to many holy places, but I could not find a Vaishnava as good as you anywhere.
এক রামানন্দ রায় বহু সুখ দিল ভট্ট কহে এই লাগি মিলিতে কহিল
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I receive much pleasure from the talks of Ramananda Rai. Bhattacharya replied, for this reason I requested that you meet him. Purport. In the Sri Chaitanya Chandrodai, 8th part, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma, I have traveled to many holy places, but I cannot find a Vaishnava as good as you anywhere. However, I must admit that Ramananda Rai is wonderful. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, therefore, my Lord, I requested that you see him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, there are, of course, many Vaishnavas in these holy places, and most of them worship Lord Narayan. Others who are called Tattvavadis are also Lakshmi Narayan worshippers, but they do not belong to the pure Vaishnava cult. There are many worshippers of Lord Shiva, and there are also many atheists. Regardless, my dear Bhattacharya, I very much like Ramananda Rai and his opinions.
So, the station between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai on the bank of Godavari, before Lord Chaitanya went on his travels, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to visit Ramananda Rai. So this particular episode, the meeting between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely important because of this question-answer session regarding what is sadhan and what is sadhya. This particular principle of sadhya, that means what is the ultimate goal of spiritual life and the means to attain that goal is known as sadhya sadhan tattva. So the sadhana and sadhan tattva was very much in detail from different perspectives. It was discussed. And for all the devotees, this was so much opening up their horizon of bhakti, the different profound meanings were discussed. So, Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya had requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he may please kindly meet with Ramananda Raya, which he did. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praising Ramananda Raya. And of course, it is a fact that in the southern part of India, the worship of Lakshmi Narayan is very widespread. They are all Vaishnavas, but Lakshmi Narayan, that is with awe and reverential approach to the Supreme Lord. So, the devotees there, wherever the Lord met, they were not yet quite ready for Krishna consciousness. God consciousness and Narayan consciousness, yes. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's actual mission was to distribute pure love of Godhead, Krishna Prem. That was his actual mission. And to help attain that goal, the Mahamantra was also revealed. It descended from the spiritual sky, the Mahamantra, and was revealed in this material world. Because only through the chanting of the Mahamantra is it possible to attain Krishna Prem. So Mahaprabhu is saying that all those devotees of Vaishnavas are no doubt very, very advanced, very devoted to the Lord. But they all worship Lakshmi Narayan. And Lakshmi Narayan means to see the Lord, to worship the Lord in the mood of awe and reverence, which curbs the spontaneity of love. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is saying that all of you, are worshipping Radha Krishna, which is the highest. And by this, all the other devotees also became very much influenced to take the path of Krishna Bhakti. তীর্থযাত্রা কথায় কইলু সমাপন সংক্ষেপে কইলু বিস্তার না যায় বর্ণন. Haribol?
Haribol? I can read.
Go ahead.
Thus, I have ended my narration about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pilgrimage, describing it in brief. It cannot be described very broadly. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that in the 74th verse of this chapter, it is stated that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Shiali Bhairavi. But actually at Shiali, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Sri Bhu Varaha. Near Shiali and Chidambaram, there is a temple known as Sri Mushnam. In this temple, there is a deity of Sri Bhu Varaha. In the jurisdiction of Chidambaram, there is a district known as Southern Arcata. The town of Shiali is in that district. There is a temple of Sri Bhu Varahadev nearby, not Bhairavi Devi. This is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's conclusion.
Ananta Chaitanya Lila kohite na jani, লোভে লজ্জা খাইয়া তার করি টানাটানি.
The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are unlimited. No one can properly describe his activities. Yet I make the attempt out of greed. This but reveals my shamelessness.
প্রভুর তীর্থযাত্রা কথা শুনে যেই জন চৈতন্য চরণে পায় গাঢ় প্রেমধন.
Whoever hears of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pilgrimage to various holy places attains the riches of very deep ecstatic love. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks, the impersonalists imagine some forms of the absolute truth through the direct perception of their senses. The impersonalists worship such imaginary forms. But neither Srimad Bhagavatam nor Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this sense gratificatory. Oh, sorry, I lost it. Sense gratificatory worship. I'll start again, sorry. The impersonalists worship such imaginary forms, but neither Srimad Bhagavatam nor Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this sense gratificatory worship to be of any spiritual significance. The Mayavadis imagine themselves to be the Supreme. They imagine that the Supreme has no personal form and that all his forms are imaginary, like the will-o'-the-wisp or a flower in the sky. Both Mayavadis and those who imagine forms of God are misguided. According to them, worship of the deity or any form of the Lord is a result of the conditioned soul's illusion. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam on the strength of his philosophy of Achintya Bhedabheda Tattva. That philosophy holds that the Supreme Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his creation. That is to say, there is unity in diversity. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved the impotence of fruitive workers, speculative empiric philosophers, and mystic yogis. The realization of such men is simply a waste of time and energy. To set the example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally visited temples in various holy places. Wherever he visited, he immediately exhibited his ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a Vaishnava visits the temple of a demigod, his vision of that demigod is different from the vision of impersonalists and Mayavadis. Brahma Samhita supports this. A Vaishnava's visit to the temple of Lord Shiva is different from a non-devotee's visit. The non-devotee considers the deity of Lord Shiva an imaginary form because he ultimately thinks that the supreme absolute truth is void. However, A Vaishnava sees Lord Shiva as being simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Lord. In this regard, the example of milk and yogurt is given. Yogurt is actually nothing but milk, but at the same time, it is not milk. It is simultaneously one with milk, yet different from it. This is the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is confirmed by Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina mat sthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshvavastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 4. The absolute truth, God, is everything, but this does not mean that everything is God. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers visited the temples of all the demigods, but they did not see them in the same way an impersonalist sees them. Everyone should follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and visit all temples. Sometimes mundane sahajiyas suppose that the gopis visited the temple of Katyayini in the same way mundane people visit the temple of Devi. However, the gopis prayed to Katyayini to grant them Krishna as their husband. Mundaners visit the temple of Katyayini to receive some material profit. That is the difference between a Vaishnava's visit and a non-devotee's visit. Not understanding the process of the disciplic succession, so-called logicians put forward the theory of henotheism, panchopasana. That is, they believe that the worship of one God does not deny the existence of other gods. Such philosophical speculation is not accepted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or by Vaishnavas. Impersonalists may accept any number of deities, but Vaishnavas only accept Krishna as the supreme and reject all others. Mayavad deity worship is certainly idolatry, and their imaginary deity worship has recently been transformed into Mayavada impersonalism. For want of Krishna consciousness, people are victimized by the Mayavad philosophy, and consequently, they sometimes become staunch atheists. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established the process of self-realization by his own personal behavior. As stated in Caitanya Caritamrta, sthavara jangama dekhe, na dekhe tara murti, sarvatra haya nija ishta deva spurti. The Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he sees the form of the Supreme Lord immediately manifest. Seeing the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnava immediately remembers the transcendental form of the Lord. Caitanya Caritamrta, MadhyaLila 8, 274.
We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is visiting all these temples. Mostly we read, or very often, he visits the temple of Lord Shiva. Now, one may think, falsely they think that worshipping of the enemy God is not allowed, so to speak, in Krishna consciousness. No, what they are not allowed is to have false understanding and vision of who Lord Shiva is and who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That vision has to be changed. So that basically the impersonalist Mayavadis, they always have this imperfect knowledge, an imperfect interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore they cannot understand. And Mahaprabhu's Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva is of such a high class of philosophy that very few people, only those who have good brains, can actually understand this Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva. So, purport was about basically establishing that the worship of a deity form is non-different from the Supreme Lord. And that a highly advanced personality, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord himself. However, he was exhibiting human-like pastimes in this particular pastime. So acting like a human being, he was exhibiting the symptoms of very much advancement. And therefore, wherever he was looking, wherever his vision fell, he was seeing his worshipful Lord. He was not seeing the external form of these material objects. Rather, in everything he was seeing the esoteric, transcendental form of the Lord. And thereby remain incessantly absorbed in Krishna. Questions?
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It is mentioned here that those who are Mayavadis, they eventually become atheists. How is that? Can you please explain?
Well, I mean, there can be any mean. The person, if he doesn't have any faith, a Mayavadi lacks faith. So if the Mayavadi lacks faith, then he will not be able to be completely convinced that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists. So simply because in the very beginning, as a prop, to help you to connect with Brahman, you are using the deities as the connecting factor. But the deities are not just connecting factors. They're actual exists as representative of the Supreme Lord. So therefore they were atheists from the very beginning. Only when they were completely frustrated in their attempt to realize Brahman and to realize themselves as the Supreme, they became bewildered and therefore they gave up, became atheists. But there can be many other ways of why they have become atheists. This is just one of them.
Do the follower of Shankaracharya in present time are also Mayavadi? They also become atheists later on?
Actually, they are atheists. And they have just given the atheism a name and nomenclature. Therefore, they were never. You see, atheist means to not accept the personal feature of the Lord. That's an atheist.
So someone who believes in the impersonal feature of the Lord, then he is not an atheist.
He is an atheist.
Okay. One question I have. What is henotheism? That is, it's in the belief the virtue of one God doesn't deny the existence of other gods.
What is the meaning of Heno? 5. Heno means 5. So 5 gods, to worship 5 gods, that's what it means. There's no other meaning.
Oh, that's why it's called Panchopasana.
Yes.
They don't believe in one God.
No, they think that we need more.
Oh. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So when Krishna so desires, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada blesses us, then we shall get to hear Harikatha tomorrow once again. I thank all of you for your patient hearing and beg forgiveness for all the mistakes I have committed. Let us once again offer our most humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Arjuna, Sri Krishna, and all his eternal associates, the Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, and all the eternal associates. Let us also offer our most humble respects to the scripture, Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. Hare Krishna, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All
Hare
glories
Krishna.
to Srila Prabhupada.